Welcome to the Inner Blueprint Podcast. I'm Shawn Feurer, the Universal Mindset Disruptor. With over 20 years of turning blueprints into thriving home improvement businesses, I've learned that the strongest foundations start in your mind. Whether you're building a business or your own success, we're here to reshape how you think and face daily life and always remind you to enjoy the ride. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Inner Blueprint, the podcast. I'm your co-host, Shawn Feurer, here today with the beautiful and amazing
Kaitlin Feurer.
And today, we're excited to have a guest on who's not only a client, but he's also a longtime friend. He is a fourth-generation leader in a successful Utah-based family business serving the Wasatch Front with top-tier exterior products from gutters and siding to windows and stonework. With all four of his kids being involved in the business while attending college, he's building a legacy rooted in both excellence and family. He's earned major recognition in our industry, including Utah's Best Business Under 40, 21 Best of State Awards, and a spot in the Remodeling Big 500. He also serves on national industry committees and speaks on some of the top podcasts in this space. Beyond business, he's a high school football and wrestling coach, a dedicated husband of nearly 26 years, and a proud father of 4. Get ready for a conversation full of insight and leadership, legacy and mindset. And I am so excited to welcome to the podcast my friend, Tim Brown.
Right. Thanks for having me, guys. It's such a privilege and honor to be here. Before I forget, this will post after, but happy birthday tomorrow.
Oh, thank you.
And I remember because when you brought up the anniversary, so your birthday is obviously tomorrow. My anniversry is the next day. So
is it really?
So it's easy to remember your birthday.
But you've been married 27 years.
26 years and 2 days, and your birthday.
Well, and I'm turning 25, so it's...
I know. It's perfect.
I've been playing with that because 52, I like reading it backwards.
I think it's perfect. No, but look, it's awesome to be here. I know you guys get to do the amazing podcasts all the time, but it's kind of cool to do one in person with you two.
Very much so.
To live down the street and to come just down the street is pretty awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
So what do we want to talk about today? There's so many things, we've done a past episode talking a little bit about kind of our history working together. But I think today we want to really focus on you, on RGS, what you've built and what you're continuing to build every single day.
Yeah.
Well, I think those are all good things. I think the most important thing is I'd really just want listeners to take away when we're done today how impactful this work can be.
Okay.
Because, I think we need to talk about a few things, but I think that the key is we've done a lot of things that build a really good foundation. And I think last time we were on a podcast, we talked about our foundation and how it was built. And then I think we go to another level, things like Certified Contractors Network, guys like Brian Kay, all these kind of guys that help and masterminds kind of put the walls on the building. Mm-hmm. And then I think what's happened with Inner Blueprint and your guys' work is kind of put the ceiling or the roof on our building. It's kind of completed it. And I didn't realize that I needed it.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize I needed all three. But now that we have all three, it really has been able to go through our business. And, we can get to it in a minute, but we've had some challenges in the last couple of weeks that this work has been able to make it a breeze. So.
One, and for those of you that don't know, as you're listening, maybe you're a first-time listener, the work we do is mindset. And, for the home improvement space, I remember when I first started teaching this, there was resistance all around me. You mentioned Brian Kay. I, spoke at his event, Accelerate, quite a few years ago when I first started, and he literally was like, I can't believe you're bringing this to home improvement, right? And, some people call mindset new age or, mystical, and it's really not. We're really talking about the science of how does the mind operate and how do we take best practices, which, again, the foundation of your walls was best practices. CCN,
right.
They teach business planning, sales process, production management. These are all processes to run a successful business, and you started doing those how many years ago? 2005-ish?
Well, it's funny. We just had a CCN conference, the awards banquet, and first of all, we were so honored and privileged. We won the Company of the Year, so that's really cool.
Congratulations for that.
But we also hit our 20-year anniversary.
20 years, okay. So it was 2005.
20 years.
So 20 years of best practice, and you've done a really good job with it. But how does mindset help?
Yeah. So, let's back up even more because you and I have known each other for 30 years?
Probably 30, yeah.
We talked about it in the last episode, but you worked with my dad, right? So now go back to when you first started doing this, I couldn't join in, okay? And again, we talked a little bit about that, but for just a minute, I want to touch on this because go what you said, what is mindset? To me, 3 years ago, before I started this work, because I've been doing this for, let's call it 3 years now, To me, mindset was woohooey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. It was, oh, I'm going to manifest that I'm going to get this and it's just going to appear. Right?
Yeah.
That's all I thought this was.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, when they first hear about mindset, they think the new age, they might even think, and if you're okay talking about this, because I've had, we've worked with every major religion now in almost 6 years of doing this work, but did you have some reservations with your belief and your religious beliefs coming into it?
Yeah, so let's kind of bring us all together. Yes. For those that don't know, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or Mormon is kind of what we're more known as. And I am, those that know me know I'm very, very religious individual, and religion is extremely important to me. So there was 2 reasons why I didn't want to join with you guys. One was I thought it was woohooey, and 2, I thought that it was going to be completely conflicting with my religion.
Yeah.
And I felt like having this manifesting, quote unquote manifesting, took out faith. And it took out putting God first. And it took out putting my Savior first. Now, the simple answer is I was completely wrong on both aspects.
Yeah.
It isn't woohooey. There's a little bit ofness to that.
Yeah.
But it's probably, if you want to say of 100, it's 10% of it, right? It's such a small percentage of it.
Well, and can I say one thing on that while we're talking about it, Tim, is to me, new age and woo-woo are sometimes terms people use for things they don't understand.
100%.
And now that you've got a better understanding,
100%.
that, 50% of what we do is science. It's how the mind works. The other 50% is literally the physical world we live in: gravity, attraction, vibration.
Well, and even quote unquote woohooiness is science.
Yes.
I mean, there is, look, vibration, we can call it whatever we want to call it, but there's science to it.
Yep.
Yes.
This table here is moving.
Yes.
Right?
Particles are
It's
moving at such a rapid speed.
It's science.
And that was when I first started working with Bob Proctor, who drew me into this work, full time as my business. He would talk about the perfect blend of science and religion, of taking the physical and the spirit and mixing it together. And he always talked about the spirit of the business. And it's funny because when I first started, Tim, I didn't even relate what he was talking to back to God 100%. I kind of thought he was talking some new age spirit stuff. But at the end of the day, he was a very religious and spiritual man. And again, we don't bring religion into the work that we do, but we bring spirit into it. And I love how it's, has it increased your faith?
It's enhanced it, and because what I think it does, if I don't want to get off on too deep of a tangent, if I do, stop me.
No, go.
But those that know a little bit about our faith, we're Christians just like anybody else. But typically, if you know somebody that's a very religious Mormon, they're a little bit more maybe devout than maybe some religions, right? We're a little bit more strict. I don't drink alcohol, never have in my life. I've never had coffee. Go to church every Sunday no matter what. There's some just things that we do. Again, we're not better than anybody. We're just maybe a little bit more strict, right? But having said that, my knowledge of God and who He was and where the Savior fits in my life was pretty solid.
Yeah.
I mean, I went and did a mission for a couple of years,
Yes.
teaching people about this, right? And by the way, my baby just got called to South Africa to do his mission. I'm so stoked for him.
Perfect
It's going to be
place for
so
you guys.
cool. And
Yeah.
we'll talk about South Africa in a minute. But anyway, so going back to it, I didn't think that something outside of my religion and scripture study and prayers and internal meditation, if you will, could be helped. I was wrong. This stuff completely strengthens my testimony. It strengthens my relationship with my Savior. I think what it does is I think when we're created, like we believe, and I think most religions believe we're created in God's image.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay?
In perfection.
And God's perfect. What this work does is it's helped me understand things that God wants us to understand.
Yes.
God wants us to know. I'm getting chills. He wants us to understand this. We just haven't. We don't learn it in class. We don't learn it in church. And so I think that's why this work can be so powerful. Now, you got to be careful.
Yeah.
Because that's when you get some crazies, is when they take some of this work and go extreme, right?
Right. Anyway, right? Extreme in any way.
Anything.
In any way, right?
If you look at all of the crazy guys out there, they got extreme in something.
100%.
This isn't about being extreme. This is staying on the main line. But if you really do this work and you do daily meditations, you do daily journaling, one of the biggest part of our work is gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, that's what God wants more than anything.
Yes.
And when we realize and recognize that everything we have is because of Him, how powerful is that? Now, the other thing that's great about this work, too, for me, specifically, it's God and Jesus Christ. if that's not who you believe in, and that's not who you represent, it doesn't matter. Whatever you believe, it's going to enhance it.
Yes.
It's that higher power, right? A lot of people will look at the work we do and they think, oh, they must not believe in God because they always talk about the universe. But who created the universe?
Yeah.
What is the universe? It's all in God's image.
I won't go too deep here, but I literally worked with a gentleman for a little while that was an atheist, right? And so he had no belief in spirit of any kind. And so we shifted the conversation. I said, okay, what if what I call God, you call energy? And it was a fascinating conversation because I said, can you get behind energy? He goes, well, yeah. I go, can you get behind energy is not created or destroyed? Yeah. Some of the same words that we and so once we got that out of the way, then we were able to do some work on, hey, I don't care what you believe in a higher power, but you believe that there's power out there.
That there's a higher power.
And once we strip off, and I love what you said too, going back to we're born in perfection. God wants that for us, right? Whatever God you believe in, he wants you to believe in the perfection that is you. And the mindset work we do is stripping off self-limiting beliefs that take away from that, thinking that we're not enough, thinking that we live in scarcity.
Thinking that we weren't born perfect, that something's wrong with us.
Yes.
Well, one of Satan's biggest tools, or the adversary, or whatever you want to call him, his biggest tools is to make us think that we're not enough.
Yes.
To make us believe that we're not good enough. He is there to tell us that we're bad, and that when we do make a mistake, because look, going back to if you're specifically Christian, the atonement is all about that. The atonement is making yourself whole and becoming clean again. Well, his whole purpose in life is to make you feel guilty.
Yes,
to
guilt
make
and
you
shame.
feel like
Guilt and shame.
Guilt and shame,
yes.
right?
Well, and that's the core, the limiting belief that all of us share at some level, like that deeper to belief is that we are not enough. And so it's in us, it's inside us.
And again, that's we talk about that, when I say, then listeners, if you took and wrote down all your limiting beliefs, and we all did the same exercise, every single one of us, if we're honest, have that, I call it the keystone self-limiting belief is not enough. And where does that come from? And we can call it the adversary. We can also just call it life, because you think about in school, you could always do better.
In sports.
In gardening the yard for your mom. My mom would always tell me I could do a better job. I was always hearing I could do better. And the reverse of what we hear when we're told we could do better is that we're not enough. And that becomes a really limiting belief. And Inner Blueprint, in a scientific way, helps everybody that participates with enoughness, knowing that we are enough, knowing that
we were created in perfection.
Yeah.
And why are we trying to tell ourselves we weren't?
Yeah, I think it's really cool to step back and think. So basically, the bottom line is, what has this work done for me? Well, it's really enhanced this. It's helped. So if anybody's listening here and has a worry or just it's complete opposite, I know there's been a couple here. I'm not going to call them out by name, but I know there's a couple that are members of our church that's on this group that were concerned about this, just like I was.
Yeah.
And have told me the same thing. We've talked privately, and they've told me the same thing. This work just simply enhances it and makes it better. And I think it's interesting, going back to a scripture in the Book of Mormon, there's a guy that's basically coming up and trying to teach him, and he's basically saying, I'm not sure what this God you're calling. And he says, well, what about the Great Spirit? He's like, well, yeah, I believe in a Great Spirit. It's finding that common ground, right? And it's finding out what God, Great Spirit, energy, whatever it is for you, this is going to help it, enhance it. So for me, it was Christ. But whoever that is, if you're Jewish, if you're Muslim, if you're a non-believer, whatever it is, you believe in something. Your core is something, and this is going to enhance that, and it's going to make you better. So anyway, bottom line, it's done that. Now, again, we can kind of maybe come back at the end, and we can talk a little bit about our company, but specifically, we've gone through some things the last couple weeks that would have rocked us. Would have rocked me on a personal, on a spiritual level. We lost some key people, and it's been super unfortunate. We've just, every time we turn around, we found out more lies and deceptions and the sin of omission. Things happen, and they weren't upfront with us, which is super disappointing. I believe that anytime I can't sit and have our team, which, by the way, our entire sales team is doing Inner Blueprint.
Yep.
Our managers are doing Inner Blueprint. I couldn't, in good faith, look at somebody and they say, hey, we want to go start our own business. I couldn't look them in the eye and tell them, no, don't do that. I'd be a hypocrite.
Yeah, because you want people to better themselves.
If they truly believe that that's going to be better, then I need to let them do that. And we're
Absolutely.
okay with that, and we want that. Unfortunately, in this situation, there's been a lot of deceptions and things that we have found out. Just every day we find out stuff that's it's super unfortunate. Still wish them the best, but it's just definitely unfortunate the way things have gone.
So and again, kind of recap for listeners too, and a lot of people listening to this know of Tim because of your presence in the events and the podcast and the speaking.
Yeah, you're kind of a big deal.
You are kind of a big deal. But last year you had a really good year, right?
An amazing year.
Was it one of the best years?
It was the best. I mean,
The best year ever.
amazing.
So
Hands down.
best year 2024, and so many people see companies on a pedestal, and oh my gosh, you're doing so well. We all have challenge coming. And so
We
this
all have
year,
our shit.
You lost a couple key employees,
Yep.
multiple actually, besides just the sales team, but outside of it, production, even some admin people from different situations. It's a challenge hitting you right now. 4 years ago, before doing the mindset work, what would it have looked like right now?
Well, so a couple things. One, we're still having a really good year in comparison, but compared to last year, it's garbage.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're doing decent, but I would have been an absolute wreck. Not only me,
But your leadership
my
team,
leadership team.
Yeah.
And your sales team probably would have rocked real hard.
Everybody. I think that anytime you lose somebody that's key and the way that it's went down would have been really hard for most people. And frankly, 2-3 years ago, let's say 3 years, let's use that 3 years numbers because I'm not sure when we started, but let's say 3 years ago, I would have been a mess. I would have been stressed. I wouldn't have been sleeping. I would have had anxiety like you wouldn't believe. I'd have been physically sick. One of the issues with me specifically, which is good and bad, but I take everything so personal because I'm so invested.
A lot of us do. A lot of people do when they're
And
passionate
you're
about
so
something.
highly competitive that you see the potential in people, and so when something happens, you're like, that's my fault.
Exactly. And I also take it personal in that, like, prior, I would have said they're doing this to me. Let's be honest. These guys that have left, they are not doing it to me. I know that deep down.
Yeah.
I don't like the way they've done it, but they're not doing it to me.
They're doing
it for themselves.
For themselves.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Right? They're doing it, but I didn't.
The key in mindset though is 3 years ago you would have said it's to me.
100%. I would have taken it personal. I'd have been sorrow. What it was me.
Now it's finding they did it for them. How did it happen for me too?
100%. Which, ironically enough, how did it get better? We were able to upgrade in a couple of ways that I just didn't even think was possible. It's been amazing. The other thing too is let's talk about the team for a minute. This is a testament to RGS as a company, not me as an individual, but the company. We have such a good leadership team. When all this stuff went down, guess how many meetings and interviews and stuff I've been involved in all this?
How many?
Zero.
Zero.
I mean, I talk to them every day.
Right.
But the leadership team has taken it and running with it. A credit to the executive team, Ross, Kurt, and Greg. They've just taken the ball and ran with it. The office staff is running with it. The sales team, is just running. They're literally taking the ball and running with it and doing it themselves to their credit. And I think that's a part of the RGS team that we've built, but it's also the inner blueprint, the fact that everybody's mindset is where it's going to be. Now, I'm not going to lie to the listeners and say that the last month has been easy, because it's not. You have your challenges, and it hurts. And there's days that you're stoked, and there's days you're upset. There's the days that, how did it get better? It just did. And there's the days that goes, oh, this is a bunch of bullcrap. This sucks. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Okay? However, as the general rule and as the overall whole, we're dealing with it so much better.
I love that.
Our mindset is clear. We know that it's going to be. I hate to bring this up because some of your listeners may love and may hate it, but the whole Trump tariffs, short-term gain, long-term.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wait, short-term pain, long-term gain.
Yes.
Right, wrong, or if it is or not, who knows? We'll find out.
Yeah, but you're
that's
kind
us.
of in
Starting
the
to see.
business right now, right?
But that's us. We have some short-term pain, but long-term gain. We're already seeing the shift, and the thing is, it's truly is. Again, I'm disappointed with the way that these employees left. Definitely disappointed in that, in them, in the way it went down. But I truly do wish them the best.
Yeah.
There's plenty of business. There's plenty of work for all of us. As long as they leave us alone and don't mess with us and quit calling our employees, then we're good.
Well, you hit on a good thing. I mean, for mindset, low level mindset is competition. And
yes.
so if that is a low level mindset, to be like, oh my gosh, they're going to take from us. It takes you into that scarcity mindset instead of like,
100%.
You're going to go do your thing. We're going to continue to do our thing. And there's more than enough for all of us.
And I didn't used to be that way.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
And to your point, Shawn, I think that I was not that way. 3 years ago, I did not have that abundance mindset. It was, if they're taking it from me.
Personally, off my plate.
But that's not the case.
No.
Right? No. It's
Not
just
at all.
shifting.
Yes.
I'm still going to get mine. They're going to get theirs. There's plenty for both.
Yes.
And look, they've been doing this work. So they understand it too, and they're going to be successful in a lot of ways
Yes.
because they did Inner Blueprint for a long time. And so
Yes.
I think that generally speaking, though, the point of all of this isn't that we lost employees or that we've gone through pain. I think the important factor is what Inner Blueprint or working on stuff internally has changed me
Yes.
and my team. We're able to deal with these problems, and everybody just keeps saying, yeah, it sucks right now, but man, this is going to be so much better.
Oh, I
Yep.
love that. I mean, you're wearing one of our bracelets right now that has E plus R equals O, right? And listeners, we've talked about it in the past, but E plus R equals O is a mathematical equation to stay in control of any situation. And the first step is letting go of control of the things you don't control. And like this situation, you didn't control this event. This event happened.
Right.
Could have said to you, but you're saying for you. And now it's the way you're responding. And I do love, and I want to give all kinds of credit to your team because the response has been not just your response, but
All of theirs.
single person in your organization,
Yep.
understanding mindset, understanding that we don't control these events, but what we do control is the R, the response, and that helps create a better outcome. And last year was your best year. This year may end up to be even better year. We don't know what the rest of the year is going to bring. And the way you guys are responding, you're looking to bring on some new team members, looking to tighten up things so you're better in the future. That response could create an even better outcome than you started with.
Well, 100%. And it's interesting, too, because I think this goes back to a religious thing. In our religion, we always call it the pride cycle. Your things are going well. You're kicking butt. You kind of forget where you came from, and God strikes you down a little bit to bring you back, to humble you again, and to bring you back to ground zero. It's kind of just that ongoing circle. I think all religions, to a degree, believe in it.
Yeah.
Well, to a degree, it happen to us. Look, things were killer last year.
Yeah.
We were having an unbelievable year. The last 2 years. Well, we rest on our laurels a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Not in a bad way.
Yeah.
And not in a prideful.
No, in a
arrogant
comfortable way.
You just get comfortable.
We
You're
got
like, this is
comfortable.
working, so we're good.
We got comfortable.
Yeah.
And what's happened the last couple months, and honestly, even in the beginning of the year before we lost some key people, just the lack of leads and some things, we're kind of like, oh boy, we've got to step back. We've got to sharpen the axe. Let's sharpen the axe. So to your point, this year may or may not end up being our best year, but regardless what this year's done for us is it's really got us to sharpen that axe, to get our tools back, to step back and go, okay, what do we got to tweak? What do we got to fix? And then we're going to do it.
And going back to growth mode too, because one of the things we say in mindset is you're either growing or you're dying, right?
Right.
You're not ever, and you did.
You're
get
never
to
staying the same.
A point you were still trying to grow, but at some level, when you get comfortable, you kind of stop the growth, and this has forced new growth to happen.
Well, and
looking at things,
and that can be a subconscious thing too, right? We always get to this point where we never thought we would get, and then we start to doubt, can it really? This must be as good as it gets.
It's interesting because 3 years ago, I would have felt that way.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I don't
Good.
At all, not even a little bit. I just feel like, okay, we got to learn something here. What are we going to learn? What are we learning from this? And I'm not going to lie to you and say that I'm not a little stressed that sales are off. Because look, let's just tell our listeners where we're at. Our production, we're a couple 100,000 behind our goals, but we're going to make that up. We've already got the work in the pipeline.
you've got backlog for that.
We got it. We're about $1 million off on our sales. So it's about 20% off right now. So it's not a small number. Having said that, I am not worried that we're going to recoup it. Are we going to get it all back? Maybe not. But again, so that stresses me a little bit, but all the other stuff doesn't.
Yeah.
Because I can't do anything about it, right? Go back to the E plus articles. All we can do is sharpen the axe, get better, and look at it. I mean, one of the things that this is all kind of come to light is that we've looked at our actual closing ratio the last 6 weeks has gone up.
Yeah.
So it's going really good. But what's happened is our average job size has gone down. So it was like, okay, well, now we know we got to fix. So we're working on that right now. So we're going back to RILAs. We're doing these things to look at our average job size, and we got to fix our average job size, and that's going to go back. Last week we ended up having a $300,000 week, which is a little off of goals, but right back where we're right back on track. And so, and again, today we've already had right before I sat down, one of the sales guys sold a $100,000 job. So,
oh hell yeah.
So yeah, right. And so it's coming back.
That momentum's gaining again.
It is, and I think the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway for the listeners is I think that's important, and I want everyone to learn from our mistakes, is that when you have a good ground zero and you've got the basis and all these tools, you can deal with these problems so much better.
Yes.
On an individual, on a personal, on a spiritual, on a work, whatever it is, when you've got the basic foundation of the gospel of Jesus Christ for me and Inner Blueprint for my mindset, when I have those together, I can really accomplish anything.
I love it.
And it's true, right?
And Tim, I love that it's not just you, because we have I mean, our largest group is our owners mastermind. It's the men owners mastermind. And a lot of them, it's just them in our program. But and you could have just done that. You could have said, hey, no, it's just me. But then when something like this happens, who's it up to fix? You'd have to fix it all. You've got your sales team in, you've got your high level leaders in. I mean, you've got your key people and then some in our program. Why did you do that? Why did you decide this isn't just about me, this is about the people in my company?
It's a good question. So there's two, I think the simple answer is two things. One is a selfish thing for me, honestly, and that is that I feel like that this work is going to make our company better.
Yes.
Okay, so there's a selfish for me. But the other thing that I think is actually the bigger true reason is because I would be a hypocrite if I didn't want to enhance our people's lives. And this work enhances our lives. And so
And it's not just about work for them. It's about making them better at home in their personal life.
I would say it's very little about work. Now, ultimately, they make more money, right? Because they do better. So that helps. But I think this work is way more than home. In fact, I think if you're looking at this work as just to make your company better or to make you a better businessman, I think you're missing the point. Because it's only this much of it, right?
Yes.
To me, this is about being a better dad, a better husband, a better brother, a better neighbor. It's all of those things.
Yes.
And so why do we have our people in it? So they can be all those things,
Yeah.
right? One of the things that Inner Blueprints really helped me with is I used to have the attitude of, well, if I'm going to help these employees, then they're all going to leave.
Ooh, that is such a good point. I think a lot of people probably feel that way.
Yeah, and to me, I don't worry about that anymore. One, because I don't think that's true. I think that we can really make their lives very, very good. And look, money talks, so they got to make money. But we're going to be more profitable. They're going to make more money.
That's it.
And if we can enhance everybody's lives and make them better, I'm going to steal it from DJ, but one of his things, and it's now mine, is that he wants to create millionaires within his organization.
Yes.
Well, that's one of my worthy goals, is to make millionaires within my organization, not me, but my team.
Yes.
And that's not something you just say.
No, that's something
It's something you believe.
Yeah.
Now we're a few years behind maybe where DJ's at, but we're working on it. And we're trying to close that gap. And I think that it's really important for those individuals and for their sake, we want them to be happy. Not only financials, but other things. I mean, look, we talked off air a little bit about Greg. I'm going to throw him under the bus, but in a good way.
Yeah.
I mean, Greg's one of our key guys. And look, since he's been in our Blueprint, he's lost I'm not even sure, over 100 pounds.
Yep.
He looks amazing. He's in the best shape.
He feels
he's ever
younger
been in.
than he ever has.
His wife's lost weight. She's doing the best she's ever done. Like everybody, right? It's not just about you. It just trickles.
Yes.
So kind of a funny story. I don't know if I even told you guys this, but we always have our company cruise that we go on every year. And it was the first week of March this year, so a little bit later. But anyway, we're on the bus and we're on the way to the terminal, and I just started looking at the guys and just seeing how good everybody's lost.
Yeah,
how much
everyone's
weight.
lost weight and looking better.
I think we calculated, and this was before Greg lost all this to skew it, but I think we figured that we had lost over 300 pounds as a group of the guys, just the guys, not even the gals there. So, and why? Well, it's because we're all in our Blueprint and we're trying to make ourselves better, healthy as well.
Yeah.
And I think that that's pretty cool to see. Kurt and I were talking about it today as I'm ordering some shirts and getting shirts. Like, well, you got to order a whole bunch of larges because the extra larges don't fit anybody anymore.
Well, it's true. I mean, our physical appearance, our physical body is a direct reflection of what's going on inside, right? So if you're holding on to trauma or just crap and you're not letting it go, you're holding on to it. When you can release that on the inside, it just releases on the outside. And the way you show up for yourself on the inside reflects on how you show up for yourself on the outside. And your team is the perfect example. All of you guys are. I mean, you're getting better looking. You're aging in reverse. I see it over and over and over. And people are like, oh, Kaitlin's just being nice. I'm like, I'm not a nice person. I'm a very honest person.
Well,
Well, I think, and for listeners that don't know, when we talk about mindset, anybody that works with us in Inner Blueprint, we create a focus on what we call the power trifecta.
Yeah.
And the top of the triangle is money, right? For a return on investment for the business owner, anybody participating. We want to try and help you make more money. But the base of the triangle is where the gold is. And it's, this side is health and wellness, both mental and physical, and this side is relationship with self. And as Tim's sharing, his team as they focus on themselves, as they focus on their health and wellness, they're starting to release weight. They're starting to feel healthier and happier. When you're working on the base of that triangle and you're working on self-love, you're working on health and wellness, everybody's going to make more money. And that's the beautiful thing about this work.
Yeah.
I do want to hit on one other thing because you brought up a really good point that I know a lot of our business owners actually share is if I put my people in Inner Blueprint, they're going to leave. They're going to leave. And I will say this, since we created the Inner Blueprint, this is more than thinking to results. We have seen people leave either companies or the program faster than they ever did in thinking to results because this program weeds out, I don't want to say the bad eggs, but the people that aren't in alignment with the growth of your company and where it's going. And it does that so that it's actually saving you money. It's saving you money because instead of letting these people kind of drag out and take from you and be low performers or not be in alignment and not have the same values and goals, it doesn't allow them to do that. They can't be part of your company anymore. And it triggers something inside them to leave. And so you did have 2 key people leave that were in our program.
But do you think they would have left anyway, regardless of the program?
Longer down the road?
Oh, the one for sure. There's no question.
Yeah.
I mean, look, there's the one that left is a tough situation because I still think he was the right guy and he was aligned with us. I think he was just in a tough situation. It was his son, and so
Yes.
that's hard because look, blood's thicker than water, and so it is what it is. But I think to your point, it does. And one of the things I think that our company, the reason why we're relatively successful and why we do well is I think the number one thing we have is a good culture.
Yes.
Well, this is part of it.
Yes.
Right? This is part of the good culture. And getting everybody aligned and get everybody on the same page and making everybody's lives better. You know, that's one of the most rewarding things. Anybody that knew me 10 years ago, yes, I cared about employees, and they knew I cared about employees. But I also cared about money. And I hate to say it, I probably cared more about money than I did anything else. And not for me.
Yeah.
Just cash flow for the company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Because I knew what...
Scarcity mindset too, actually.
100%. I mean, you and I both went through 07, 08, 09, 10 together. I mean, I was so worried that we needed to make money, not to put in my own pocket, let me be clear, but to make sure that the company was taken care of. One thing I've learned through this work and this process is that, yes, you need that. But you get everybody aligned and you get everybody on the same page, that stuff takes care of itself.
Yeah.
Cash flow fixes itself.
Well, having a good culture, a good team takes care of the cash flow issues because you're adding value to your people. Yeah. They're adding value to the business and to your clients. The customers are the end, beneficiary of all this work that we do because when we've got happy, healthy people working in a happy, healthy culture, they're going to put out really good projects and you're going to have a lot of happy, healthy customers.
And culture is all about alignment, making sure that you are aligned in the same goals and the same mindset and the same wants, needs, and overall everything. And so many people think that success to get to where you need takes time, but what it really takes is alignment. So if you, like you have created this amazing culture with alignment of the right people working towards the right goals, you've seen that massive success. Yes. And that's why something like even when you have challenges arise, the team gets even farther in alignment and your success is just going to skyrocket. It will continue to do so.
So true. And I think you're right. And that's the goal, that's the wish, the desire, but I know it's going to happen because we want it to. Mm-hmm. It's been really cool to just watch everybody just kind of take the ball and run with it when we have some challenges and everybody's mindset's like the whole, it didn't happen to you, but for you. Mm-hmm. And it's one thing is you as an owner to feel that way, but when you have your team feel that way, it's awesome.
Well, and I don't want to take more credit than it's due, but you think about, we talked earlier, I mean, you've been a member of CCN for 20 years. You've been, part of some of the other organizations you belong to for years. You've been working with us on mindset for a couple of years, and the culmination of a couple of years of mindset work with us and 20 years of process work generated 2024 being the best year ever. I don't think it's a coincidence that happened.
No.
As you started doing work, because it's kind of like the
jet
polisher.
fuel.
It's the icing.
And we've gone back and forth. I mean, you said, you couldn't have done mindset earlier. I've had other clients that said they wish they did the mindset work. Yeah. And I think just the takeaways for listeners is whatever you're doing in your business, you can't ignore the mindset piece.
Nope.
Brian Gottlieb's book right now, Beyond the Hammer, it's a mindset book at almost every level,
It
right?
is.
Transference of belief. I mean, a lot of the things that he talks about in there.
Echo of your voice, everything.
Echo of your voice. That's the echo of your energy, the echo of what you believe. You know, if you're in scarcity mindset, worried about payroll, you're sharing that with your whole team, whether you want to or not. And I think
You don't even realize you're doing it.
no,
but you are,
and
right?
Tim is a walking testament of, you know, we kind of helped him polish and really get deep on a few things that were still limited him. And when he stepped through and out of that, we've seen you now create what you've been able to create in the last couple of years.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that, but I think to your guys' credit, I think as I sat back and you said, I like the polish analogy. I think it's kind of like the cake. We had a really good cake. We had great ingredients. We made an amazing cake, and I think this work was kind of the icing on it.
Yeah.
Right? It was the finishing touches. Would we have been fine as a company without Inner Blueprint?
100%.
Yes. Would we have been fine as a company without CCN or Brian Case? Yes. But when you bring it all together and that when it comes together, I think that's something else too that I think is really good is too many times in our industry, everybody's competitive.
Yes,
Right.
and they think it has to be this or this.
Yes.
But they all work together.
It's so key. If you had to put a gun to my head right now and said, Tim, you have to choose between us, like you guys, or CCN, or Brian K, or other podcasts that I listen to, or other work I do, what are you going to pick? I couldn't,
No.
because they're all needed differently.
Yep.
Yes.
And they're different keys. And I think that's so key and so important for everybody. This work does not take away from anybody else.
No. Well, you hear me talk all the
enhances
time.
it.
I mean,
Yep,
CCN.
it enhances it.
CCN is best
It enhances
practices.
it.
And I always say, for best practices to get best results, it takes the best mindset. And that's where what we do, it enhances. You know, it closes the knowing doing gap on things you've learned you know you
Yep.
should be doing.
Yep.
On pulling off the limits, not only in the owner of the company, but the leadership team, the sales reps. And it really is, you know, it's a collaboration. You know, our mindset program is for a lot of business owners a godsend to help make these systems they're already paying. I mean, EOS, you know, so many visionaries have EOS, but they're still getting in the way, and they're getting away at a subconscious level. And the mindset work helps you get out of the way, helps you really step into owning the visionary seat. And for you, it means not being as involved. Like even this challenge you're dealing with, the old you would have probably tried to get more involved at some level instead of just trusting these team members.
It's interesting you said, as you're saying this, I'm just thinking, it's kind of why I was giving that look.
Yeah, I
'cause
saw the
was
pause there.
I was looking because I've never thought about EOS in that way before, because EOS has been a big part of our journey
Yeah.
the last couple of years. And I think it's true. I think this work enhances me as a visionary.
It does.
Yes.
I mean, Gino Wickman has his book Shine, which is about a mindset journey of his own, and it's in a little bit different context, but it's basically what we teach in Inner Blueprint is you can build a beautiful business. You can get all these things on the outside, but if you don't do the inside work, you're not living it to the full enjoyment that you could, and you're not letting go. You're not allowing. You're not
Yep.
trusting. You're not living abundantly. I mean, I know so many people that from the outside in, it's like, oh my gosh, they've got an abundant life, but you talk to them, they're still miserable. They're still fighting some, you know, call them demons, call them limits on the inside. But
Well,
mindset work allows you to step out of that.
So true, and something that two things that as you were saying that I thought about. One, another amazing book that every one of your listeners should listen to is Gap in the Gain, and this work really tries to get us in the gain instead of the gap.
Yes.
Well, and it's gratitude, celebrating how far you've come instead of looking at how far you have to go.
I will admit, and the team will raise their hand and say, Tim is the worst at being in the gap. I am. I'm working on it, but the gap in the gain is big. So getting in that gain more.
Living in the gain.
And celebrating
And
the game.
celebrating it is so key. But the other thing too is I think it's key, and it's really, really important to look at where you've come, look where you're going, and make sure that everybody's aligned. But remember and reward. Ironically enough, I did a podcast last week with they're focusing on more on the $2 million to $5 million companies. So they said, hey, let's take you back to that journey and remember when it was. And we started reminiscing on those things. And I'm going, oh my gosh, we have come so far.
Yes. Like right now, you're
Like,
living a dream
whoa.
that you once had. Like you are right
Oh.
now living a dream that you once had.
Well, look, Shawn, you were actually a part of this journey, but 30 years ago, when I graduated from college, about 30 years ago, I had a decision to make of where I was going to go in the business. And I was trying to decide, and you were a factor. I went and met with you and your dad's business, and as you knew my dad very well, and where to go. And anyway, one of the reasons why I did not want to partner with my dad was because I wanted to go to conferences. I wanted to go live that life of being around other people, because I'm a people person. I didn't want to be
Yes, you are.
pounding nails.
And you were
every
looking
day.
at a corporate job that would have been more of that.
And that's, yes. Now, having said that, I felt like at the time when I chose to partner with my dad, I was excited and it was the right thing, but I felt like I was giving that up.
It-
I didn't.
you get both. Why choose?
I didn't.
My favorite
and
thing.
ironically enough, I think I flew 30 times last year. Here we are in May. I've already reached diamond status for the year.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of big flights ahead still this year. So and part of it's play, part of it's work, but it's allowed me to do both. And I never thought possible. To your point, Kaitlin, I'm literally living the dream. I'm doing what I love. The other part that I wanted to really get at, because look, we're all here to make money.
Yes.
Call a spade. We need money.
Yeah, it's a business. It's a
The
business.
world
We are in
run-
business to make money.
And look, we've got to make more money, and the more money we make, the more comfortable our life can be.
Yes.
But it does not make you happier.
No.
And I've learned that. I've made more money than I ever have in the last couple of years. I am no way, shape, or form any happier than I was before. And I always felt like if I could just make it,
Then I'll be happy.
then I'll be happy. It's fallacy.
It is.
Well, that's part of the mindset journey, though, is helping people find, one of my favorite sayings is a happy life is just a string of happy moments. And I get to choose happy in every moment if I want. And this goes back to even the gratitude practice, right? And the gap and the gain. The gain, because if we get caught in the gap of how far we still have to go, we're going to be miserable because we're
the gap
always
just
be
gets
chasing
bigger.
the next,
Yeah.
chasing the next. And to me, it's celebrating how far you've come. And even
It's-
going back, I love $2 to $5 million businesses for mindset work, especially if they've been there for a while. Because I've had so many businesses that we
Yes.
work with that have been there, family business, generationally, 3 to 5 million, 3 to 5 million, and they have the process, and they unlock the mindset, and we
Boom.
see overnight. We've got a couple right now that have gone from $5 million businesses to 20 to 30 in a matter of 2 years.
Yeah.
And the processes they're using have been there for a while. It's the mindset that finally got unlocked. It's really
it holds
stepping
you
in.
hold yourself back.
Yes.
And I think when you can really realize that, but I also think it's really important. I think it's really important for listeners. And as I'm saying this out loud, I'm thinking about it and reflecting myself. But money doesn't bring happiness. It makes life easier. It gives you comforts.
Yep.
But it's not easier. In fact, just the opposite. I think the more money you make, you have more responsibilities. You've got responsibilities to help other people. Again, going back from a spiritual aspect, I truly believe that everything comes from God. And when I've been blessed financially, it's because I need to give it back, right?
Right.
Through tithing and other ways. But you need to help other people. And so it doesn't change anything. In fact, it's probably the opposite. But it helps you understand the big picture. And it helps you understand what it is. Anyway.
Yeah, well, and I think along those same lines too, I think a lot of people get stuck in scarcity on money, playing defense in their business, playing not to lose instead of playing to win. And that's a big shift that I've seen with a lot of people, including myself,
100%.
is when I finally get to a point where I'm secure with money, and not even that you have a surplus, but just secure and an abundant mindset. You start making better decisions. You start like even you right now, you're not going into a defensive mode because of some changes in the business. You're staying in offensive mode of what can we create? How can we do more? And that's huge because so many business owners, we've had
All of a sudden go, what can we cut back on? We got to get rid of this. We got to get rid of that.
In 2020, COVID hit. A lot of business owners' knee-jerk reaction was to go into scarcity. And I worked with a lot of contractors during that time, and we helped them stay in. And I got caught in it for a minute, but when we lean into abundance, we lean into what's possible, and we play offense instead of defense, we're able to keep going and keep moving the needle.
Use COVID as an example. If you played defense instead of offense, what happened? You got left in the dust.
Yeah, your business shut down.
But if you played offense, you thrived.
Oh, yeah.
Best year ever for a lot of businesses financially because of what happened.
And it was certainly,
And this political thing and the tariffs and stuff. People that are retracting right now and going into defensive mode are hurting their businesses. And we've got a lot of, you included, being proactive. Yeah, it's maybe a long game, but we're not going to stop advertising. We're not going to stop selling. We're not going to stop producing. We have to keep going for the business.
Well, and it's a mindset shift. It's a focus. But when you can make business decisions, I like your term offense versus defense. You're so much better off long-term gains.
Yeah.
And there's no question that as I've grown as a businessman, as I've grown as an individual, as I've grown with my inner blueprint, making decisions aren't scary like they used to be.
Yeah.
Look, I'm making $100,000 decisions today.
Yeah.
Where in the past, I would have paralysis over $1,000.
Right. And it's a set point, right? DJ talks about that a lot in our groups. What is your set point? And going back, you have to have defense. You know, if I use the offense, you have to have defense. But you think about how many, and I mean, the Utah Jazz used to be famous. If you go into defense and stall, you're going to end up losing. You have to keep trying to score. And in, you know, business, you got to keep selling. You can't stop marketing. You can't stop selling. We always have to be proactively trying to grow our business.
Well, and when you do that, you're better off anyway. But it's more fun.
Yes.
Being in defense is sometimes we have we all have defensive moments in our business.
Yes. And we have budgets and we have things, we have safeguards in place to protect our money, obviously.
But and I think that's actually a really good point, Shawn. I think that this work does not take away business planning.
No.
This work does not take away from just go spend frivolously.
Not at all.
Don't go get in debt. Don't charge up your cards. None of that.
That's not what this is. But there is something to be said about living, thinking, breathing. And I think maybe the most important factor, because some good advice that I could give people and myself and others, when you are struggling and when things are bad, what do? You go to gratitude.
Yes.
You go back to what are you grateful for? For me, it's a matter of prayer, of thanking the man above for what I have.
Yeah.
Not what I don't have, but what I have. And when you can focus and pay attention to what you have, wow.
Yeah.
Because being grateful is the key.
Yeah.
God, for me, gives me everything I have.
Well, and gratitude for the simple things. I mean, we talk about in our program, a grateful day, or I recorded that brand new day. It's literally every day. Yes, we've got some challenge. Yes, we've got some things, but what do we have to be grateful for? And, you know, most people in America live better than 95% of the world population. I mean, you've done some traveling and seen some areas where, you know, there is a lot of scarcity. And here, if you wake up and you've got a job to go to and you've got air in your lungs, I mean, there's a lot to be
roof
grateful
over
for.
your head, a car to drive.
Yes.
You've talked about it in the grateful day thing, but somebody has it worse than you.
Yes.
Somebody has it better than you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So don't focus on either one of those.
No.
Focus on what you have and be grateful for what you have.
Yeah.
Because that's all you can control.
I mean,
And when you tell the man above and when you tell yourself how grateful you are for things and you recognize God's hand or energy's hand or whatever it is in what you have, that's when the magic really happens.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, you get more of what you're grateful for. I mean,
Your thoughts become things, so what you think about comes about. The more you focus on gratitude, the more things you have to be grateful for show up.
And what a blessing,
Yes.
right? To be able, look, the other thing too is when are you happy? When you're grateful.
Yes.
Not when you want, because when you want, all you're doing is you're in that short mindset. You're in the I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. You know, the want. You're always wanting.
Yeah. You're in lack, and you know, going to the energy. You know, we talk about vibration. When I'm in lack, I'm in a negative vibration. I'm in fear. I'm in scarcity, and we talk about in our program, thought creates feeling. Feeling affects the action, and action creates the results. And when you go to gratitude, that's the thought. You feel better, and when you feel better, you take actions feeling better, and you get better results. I mean, again, this is where it's not new age. This is like a science of, hey, every morning I have a choice. What am I going to think about? For you, you're not thinking about the loss that your company's taken. You're not thinking about you're behind. You're thinking about what's possible. You're thinking about gratitude, which creates better feelings, and now you're able to take better actions. And again, it's one day at a time. We're playing the short game with this work. It's one day at a time. What can I create today?
I think so. And I'm sure we're getting close on time. But two things that I just kind of want to point out to was one, look, we killed it last year.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're still doing okay this year. But I think it's really important for everybody to understand that things, just because you've quote unquote made it, doesn't mean you're on autopilot.
No.
Okay. And just like everybody else, I can learn every day. Right. And so that's why I continue. Why do I continue to go to masterminds? Why do I continue to go to conferences? So I can learn. I want to be the dumbest guy in the room. The second you're the smartest guy in the room,
you're in the
got
wrong
an issue.
room.
You're in the wrong room. Yeah.
So, but anyway, so that's one thing. I think it's really important for everyone to realize, and for me including, I'm saying this for myself, but you've never made it.
No, the second you think you've arrived, you're starting
You
all
look
over.
out.
And so always be aware of that and recognize that and know, and you look, and when you look at other companies and think, oh man, they've made it. Look, RGS has made it. Okay, we made it that year.
Yeah.
But we got to tweak and adjust.
Yep.
Because things change so fast that you've got to adjust and tweak, or you're going to be a has-been. I don't want to be a has-been. I don't want to be Blockbuster.
No.
Right?
Well, and I
You don't want to be the guy that peaked in 24.
Right.
No, when I think, and I,
That's just the
You had
beginning.
some challenge, even in one of our groups where you didn't have some information, and I know you were hesitant. I said, no, Tim, please, you being a successful business owner, showing that you still have challenge, gives the smaller guys or the guys that are struggling hope. And that was, to me, that's one of my biggest challenges. And when we go to these events, I love
He-Man
vulnerability.
contest.
Yeah, it's not a Masters of the Universe. It's like, no, we all are human. We all have challenges come up, and the more we get out of comparison and just collaborating, saying, hey, I was winning yesterday, I'm losing today. I could use a pep talk right now. Let me share with.
Or hey,
going on.
you're going through this. I've been through this. Let me tell you what I did, and maybe that can help you.
I love it. I think
Well,
it's
the high tide rises all, and we're seeing in a lot of our masterminds where businesses that for years were struggling, they've worked on their mindset, and now they're starting to rise. And even you're in one of my small groups where you're one of the bigger companies. We're already seeing some of the smaller companies shift and change and collaborate with your energy.
It's fun because net profit percentage, forget dollars, but percentage, we killed everybody last year. We're like 6th or 7th this year, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Right. And that's not it's a bummer that we're not doing as good as we should be, but it's awesome to see everybody else well. And I think that's the point that I'm really getting at with this is that one, don't look at somebody and compare yourself to other people and feel like they've made it because you don't really know what's going on internally.
No.
Okay. But two, just always get better and tweak and learn.
Yeah.
And I hate some of these conferences that are the big contests.
I can't stand them.
You get up on the stand and they talk about how great they are. And I think the last time I spoke at Top 500 in Vegas, I think I got some really good feedback because I got up on stage and I was real. I was vulnerable.
Yes,
and I talked
authentic.
about who I was.
Yes.
And I think it was refreshing to a lot of people to go, man, he talked about the good and the bad of his company. And because there's everything.
Yeah.
But I think the key takeaway to all this is that Inner Blueprint is another tool. It is not the tool. It's not a silver bullet.
It's an enhancer.
Yes. But if anybody thinks, I'm going to work on my mindset and it's going to fix everything. No, it's not.
No.
But it is a key part. It is a tool to get you and me where we want to go.
Yes.
And I think that's the big thing is just that use it as a tool, be grateful for the tool and use it not only for you, but your team and get everybody involved. And when you do that, wow.
Oh, that's a good wrapping point right there, I think. Anything else you want to add? Because I'll hit on that to finish because you just described my mindset on enjoying the ride, right? It's my mantra. I talk about it all the time, but you have to be in growth mindset. You've never arrived. You got to do gratitude every single day and you've got to strive. And when you see somebody winning, instead of getting jealous, celebrate with them, try and get in their energy and support them. And, again, that's the Inner Blueprint movement is, let's get everybody thinking better thoughts and rising together and getting better results.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a lot of it. I mean, we are seeing a lot of winning going on right now.
I think just really kind of wrap up for me, we're still going to have a good year. We're not having the year that I want.
Tim, you might have the best year ever. You don't know.
I'm going to say you're still going to have the best year ever.
We're
Your production's good and sales catches up faster than anything.
We're doing some really, really good things. We've had some challenges, but let's just say, no, I don't want to say that.
No,
don't say it. I'm not going to let you say it.
Yeah.
What the point that I was trying to get at is that whether we have the year that I wanted to on paper or not. Doesn't matter. And that's what I'm trying to get at. And the reason why I'm saying that is because we have learned the journey that we're on. My mindset is completely different. I'm able to handle challenges better. I'm able to handle the highs better and the lows better. This work has changed my life and my team's life because I'm able to handle
whatever comes at you
in a better way, good and bad.
Yeah.
And I think that's what matters is I still feel like we're going to have an amazing year. But let's say that we're off. Let's just say that our business plan and our budget and proposal is off.
You're still going to have
I'm handling it.
You're still going to have your best year ever.
I'm handling it. And
in whatever way that looks like.
I wouldn't have been this way last year. I would have been a ball of stress. And so I'm so grateful for what it's taught me, for what I'm learning. And look, everybody needs this work at some way or another, and they just need to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you for that, Tim. And Tim's been on our podcast before. He reached out to me probably about a month ago, just out of the blue, and said, we need to do an episode. And I said, why? He said, I don't know. I just feel like I have some stuff to share. And now I know why. Thank you for sharing everything you've been through, everything you're continuing to do to keep your mindset, to keep your processes If you've enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button, share it with somebody who needs to hear it, and keep enjoying the ride. It's a good one. Welcome to the Inner Blueprint Podcast. I'm Shawn Feurer, the Universal Mindset Disruptor. With over 20 years of turning blueprints into thriving home improvement businesses, I've learned that the strongest foundations start in your mind. Whether you're building a business or your own success, we're here to reshape how you think and face daily life and always remind you to enjoy the ride.